Hi there, I'm Toni Reece, and welcome to another episode of It's Personal. This series showcases people who are very passionate about their work or things that have happened in their lives, and they're here to share those stories with us. And today I have a very special guest. I have Santo Marabella with me. Hello, Santo.
Hi, Toni.
So Santo is the president at Marabella Enterprises, and he's a professor of management at Moravian College, and he's also a published author and playwright. So we're very, very happy to have him here. So Santo, tell us about your latest work of art.
The latest work of art?
Mm-hmm.
The Lessons of Caring.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very, hopefully down-to-earth book. Mm-hmm. That outlines some of the lessons I've learned as a caregiver from my parents. Mm-hmm. It's very personal book, but I wanted it to be something that would be useful for other people.
Okay.
That it wasn't just an academic read, because they can be really boring.
Yes, they can be.
So,
but knowing you, this is very. I've seen the reviews, and the reviews are fantastic. And I do want to touch on the fact that we, boomers, okay, we are impacted by this caregiving role in ways that we probably didn't see coming.
You know, I was doing some research, because this whole issue to me seems, the more you talk to people, the more you realize there's a lot of people in our same situation. It's 43.5 million caregivers who are providing unpaid care to an adult or a child in the United States. This is from the National Alliance for Caregiving. And it might not surprise you that the majority are women. 50, depending on what source you look at, 53 to 68%. And then many caregivers neglect their own health. Mm-hmm. Not surprising also, and a really disturbing factor, particularly for caregivers who take care of folks with Alzheimer's, which is about over 15 million.
Oh my goodness.
Typically pass before the patient.
Really?
Yeah. Because we don't take care of ourselves.
Right.
And can be such a draining, emotionally draining, physically draining experience.
And there's various forms of caregiving as well. You don't have to be giving care 100% in the home with someone who's ill. It can be the role of a son or a daughter or a sister or a brother or any family member or a friend. And caregiving could be taking them to doctor's appointments. It could be, managing meds, just being a support person, right?
Yeah.
So why did you decide to write a book about this?
Yeah, I think for me, well, you know me, I have this need to have a creative outlet, and sometimes that comes from places that we don't expect. And in this case, it was from a place of kind of being worn down and frustrated and kind of overwhelmed. And thankfully, I have the creative outlet to go to, and it's like, well, maybe that makes sense to channel this towards writing, because I think that notion of it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, it takes a village to raise our parents, and there's no handbook about that. There are lots of resources about caregiving, but as a teacher, I mean, everything I do is teaching. I think that whenever we can learn together, whenever what I learn can be shared and can be useful, so be it. I would love for somebody to benefit from this, because either, hey, I didn't know this, I don't feel alone as much, there's support, there's a community, there are, I shouldn't beat myself up so much, because it's other people are going through the same thing.
So did you have those questions when you were going through this with family members? Did you find yourself saying, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, I do feel alone? Did you have those thoughts?
Absolutely. I have an amazing support of family and friends who haven't blocked my phone number yet.
Don't name names.
Right. Thankfully, they're still picking up the phone or the text. But I don't know that a lot of people have that. And I, even in those times, it's like, hey, am I doing the right thing here? I mean, this is big time stuff. This is my parents. If this is their, either my dad or my mom, or both, it's their life, and that's an awesome responsibility that I'm up for the challenge, but I don't always know what the right thing to do is. So in that way, it can be kind of scary because you want to do the right thing. It's not just taking care of a puppy,
Exactly. So how much time did it take you? Did it take you a year? Did it take you 2 years? How long did it take you to research the do's, the don'ts, the lessons, the life lessons?
Yeah, I think for me the marker in my life was 2014 when my dad had his first fall, and he broke a hip, first of two. He has 2 hips, yes, but first of 2 hip breaks, and then there was a shoulder break, and then there was a wrist break. So that kind of started things that said, oh, things are going to be different now. He's not going to drive as much. He did drive, I think, a little bit after that. And then, mom's health, she's got kidney failure. So the last 4 years, I've been very blessed that, it didn't happen all at once. Maybe that's good, and maybe that's not, but I've had some time to kind of get up to speed to this, because their needs, the reliance on me grew sort of gradually over the last 4 years. And so it gave me some time to, because I do my homework, I'll research what I don't know, and there's a lot I don't know, and I'll talk to people, and I'll ask people, and I'll challenge people, particularly providers, healthcare providers.
Which is a good thing.
You have to, absolutely have to. They're the greatest people in the world who serve us in that way, and at the same time, it's okay to challenge them.
Which isn't that part of one of the lessons as advocate?
It is.
You have to advocate for
I could do a whole entire, I could talk to you until you're tired of listening about the role of advocacy.
Yeah.
I constantly am faced with, being respectful and being deferent, and at the same time, not accepting just because a doctor or a nurse says this is the way it's going to go, because you don't know my parents. I do. I actually, and I've said this, I said, I know my parents' case better than you do. And so you're going to have to trust me. I use the metaphor that it's like watching a trailer of a movie, like a frame or two you're seeing in the trailer, right? I have the whole movie.
Right.
So you got to trust me that I know the movie, okay?
And you can speak to it.
And I can get you up to speed with the movie. So I said this to an ER doc once, and the doc looked at me like, whatever. I'm like, this is it. This is the way you have to understand that I know the movie, I know how it's going to go, and you got to trust me to get you up to speed with that.
Well, you not only know the movie, but you know the characters. You know how to direct the characters because you know what buttons not to push,
right,
and what will get them to where they need to be.
Well, it took me a long time to know the buttons not to push.
Okay.
Because I'm a bit stubborn as a Taurus, and that's been the relationship with my parents. I mean, things don't change. We just get older, and we hopefully get more experience, and we hopefully become more empathetic and more understanding. Because that's what I really learned. And the biggest thing is we become more present to now, to being in this place, in this space with this person. And I'm not good at that. I have not been good at that. And I really appreciate that I'm getting better at that, because I don't know what next Christmas is going to bring. Right now, I got 2 parents, thankfully. But we all know that. We know how hard it is. And so if we don't appreciate, if I worry about tomorrow and worry about the next doctor's appointment and the next thing, and how am I going to... One of the caregivers that I met with and talked to, she said, can I do this today? Can I just do this today? And then I'll worry about tomorrow. I'm like, wow, that is profound.
Well, look, everything that you're saying here as far as stepping into the moment, being present in that moment, that's a skill. You have to learn how to do that, not just with caregiving and parental relationships, but with all of everything we do. We only have right now, and we have to be present in that, and you have to learn how to work that skill. So learning how to do that during your caregiving process, I am sure, is going to translate into other areas of your life.
Absolutely.
So that's a very good takeaway for those that are watching, is that in order to do that now for the reasons you've stated, it will carry over into other areas of your life, which is incredibly important. The advocacy piece is huge. That is absolutely huge. What has surprised you the most? with this, with being in this world, with being in as a son, as an observer, as a teacher?
I think that if you asked me this question last year, I would have been a very different place, and never would have imagined that it could be okay this year. It was difficult for both of them, for their health. I mean, we're talking about very serious, very complex issues. And I couldn't see ahead. I could not see to this year. And again, you know, they're enjoying generally good quality of life. But I think the biggest lesson is that I'm doing okay. I'm doing the right things. I'm making mistakes like heck. and I stumble. And
as long as they're not
right.
medical mistakes,
right.
you know.
I'm like, you know, I'm doing the little mistakes, and I'm like, okay, I screwed that one up.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut a little bit more, but okay, it ended okay. But they are so resilient. They're amazing, and my vow and commitment is, as long as they want to fight, I'm there, and I'm going to fight with them. But you know, honestly, and both my parents may not have been around if, you know, first of all, if they weren't as strong and strong-willed and as feisty, and also if I weren't as committed. And I get that. I mean, I have to acknowledge that for myself. It's not about me, but I feel good about that because I don't want any regrets. I don't want any regrets. And the choices I've made, I don't have regrets. And we have now a paid caregiver who's helped them and helps them for the last year on a full-time basis that I could not have, you know, calling out the angels. She's one of those. She's truly one of those. Yet I'm still the primary person here because I'm the one. I'm the kid. I'm the only kid.
So your surprise has been that you got through this and how much you have learned. But it's also, you mentioned the surprise is the resilience of your parents and the resilience of you. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So I know there's a whole bunch of lessons in this book, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time in the interview to go through all of the lessons. You did speak to advocacy, and I would encourage anyone who is watching this to pick up this book, and we will give you where to get this book in a moment. But I think what's really important, the message that we want to get through here today, is that you are not alone. We are all in this together. You have to learn as you go, and you've given yourself permission. You are resilient, and I am inspired by your story, and I want to know from you what's inspiring you with this story. You've told me what surprised you, but what's inspiring you?
It's very personal. So, you know, I was adopted, and my parents, Anna and Sam, have given me this life of amazing opportunities. So I always felt that I have to do things to pay them back because I would never. I've met my bio family in Italy, really wonderful people. There would never been the situation that I have. I would never have been surrounded by the community of support and love. And so for a long time, that was my, you know, I needed to make sure that I'm always, as much as I can, be respectful and helpful and good to them as they have been to me. And I got, like, this is my chance to do that. And it's so hard at times to make sure I'm doing the right thing, and it takes time, and it's going to be draining. But, you know, that piece of it is really inspiring because, you know, how many kids get to teach their dad how to walk again? You know, I've helped my dad walk 3 times now.
That's amazing.
Breaks, right?
That's
and
amazing.
Parents take care of their kids and, you know, help them learn how to walk, but we don't often get to give that back. We pay it forward a lot. I call it paying it backwards because it's just, and that's the gift part of this. You know, I think this is really a lot about love. And, you know, it sounds hokey, and we don't talk about this, but it is. It's what it is. Like, love is not this fantasized, romanticized thing. It can be, but I mean, love is really the actions and the things that we do for people in our lives because we care about them. And I've been challenged to do this, and I have no regrets. I feel like this has been part of the reason I'm, the reason d'etat, whatever the phrase is, the reason for being part of that is this.
I think people watching this will appreciate that there's a lot of pitfalls to caregiving. There's a lot of struggles, and it is hard, no matter what, no matter who you're dealing with or what you're doing. And I think in this tiny snapshot of time, you've talked about the inspiration, the resilience. You've did your research. You've put a resource out there for other people to learn from things that you've learned from, and it's become, caregiving has become very personal for you. And I know that, based on personal experience, that until you hit your worst moment, you don't know what you're made of. But it's when you hit that worst moment, you know exactly what you're made of.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you haven't hit yours yet, but you've learned along the way what you're made of, as everybody else will, and they get your resource along the way too.
I mean, I think there's challenges ahead, but I think last year at this time was probably that point.
Yeah.
Because it was just, there was clouds and darkness and no clear path at all, and no sense of cooperation or that things were going to work out or get better.
And they did.
And they did.
Right.
And they did because of a lot of factors, and because I didn't give up.
You didn't give up, and you created a resource. So we're going to have to wrap the interview up, but I want people to be able to get this book. Where do they get the book?
So it's an ebook, and it's ebook sellers everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, iTunes, The Lessons of Caring. And it's an ebook because I have video commentary and kind of real, just authentic interviews with folks who are in similar situations, which I hope is really inspiring to others. And so each chapter has another clip or a few clips.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
do you have a Facebook group as well?
What we're doing is, because I think there's this need to have these nice conversations, anybody who purchases the book can actually request an invite to join the Facebook community, and it's a closed community. Because I don't want people to worry about advertisers and people trying to sell them stuff, or even this notion that it's put out there in public, because I think sometimes, like I went on the other day and said, I need to vent, and I vented for about this much, and it was great. It felt really good, and I felt safe, because it was like nobody's going to think any worse, because we know what these situations. So there are communities for caregivers. I don't know what they offer as much, but I thought that this is the right way to do this as part of this, this group now that we're this cadre of folks that we're trying to build. It'd be great to sell books, of course, but the real thing is, I think part of this is supposed to be providing this connection for people. I'm all about creating community. Whatever I try to, in whatever I do, I try to create community. And this is just another example of where I'm attempting to do that for people who have, going down similar paths.
And so you've created this community. If someone buys the book, they can ask for an invite into this Facebook group.
Yeah, because the way Facebook is, that way they don't have to find us and all that stuff, and I'll send them out they'll get sent a link to the page, and then they can join the page.
Is there a website?
Well, sure. MarabellaLLC.com is my website, and then you just navigate under the Practical Prof and books, and it comes out to the Lessons of Caring.
And you want to follow this guy because he's a pretty creative guy and he's got a lot going on. And a personal shout out to Santo for when I went through with my father, the death of my father. This man was very kind to me. So
that's what we do for each other, right?
Yep. So I thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
good luck to you and your parents.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you.